welcome back everyone to another edition here, my weekly Q&A on Follow Bigfoot. If you're looking for answers to questions, solutions to problems, and you're just scratching your head, leave your question below in the comment box, or you can email me at followbigfoot@yahoo.com, or you can also leave your question on any of my social media platforms like my Instagram account or my Facebook account. So pretty much there are lots of different ways for you to ask your question. Now I'll do my weekly Q&A each and every Tuesday, and if for some reason you don't get your question answered, then post it again. And if you don't like the answer to your question, then I don't know what to tell you. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with our first question of the day. On the SHT, or Superior Hiking Trail, did you keep the food in the tent or just outside? So what Slippery Storm is referring to was a hike I did earlier this year where I chose to bring an op sack, which is an odorless bag to put all my food in instead of a bare bagging kit where I hung it up in the tree. First and foremost, I don't recommend that. I was attempting to set a speed record and was really trying to cut as many ounces as I could, and I knew that at the end of the day, the last thing I was going to do was probably throw my food up in a tree. So I actually kept my odorless op sack in my tent. I didn't keep it outside. Every hiker that I have met on the trail that had their op sack with them, I think about 95% of them kept it inside their actual tent if they weren't hanging up their food or anything like that. Now again, it's not something that I recommend. Depending on what area that I was in, going out to the John Muir Trail where there's a high bear activity, I wouldn't do that. But back in Minnesota doing my home trail, it was just something that I was comfortable with, right, wrong, or indifferent. Next question. Hi, I want to know what pouches you use to hold those water bottles on your shoulder strap. Thanks in advance. So I use the Z-Packs shoulder pouch, which you can buy online. I'll put links to that below in the description box. Now I put that on my Arc Blast from Z-Packs, the Nero from Z-Packs, and I also put that on my Wind Rider HMG that I took with me out on the JMT. Now I found that when I keep my water on my shoulder strap in one way, form, or another, I just have better access to it, which means I'm going to drink more water and stay more hydrated. Question number 3. When do you stretch before, during, or after your hike, and what kinds of stretches do you do? All right, so I don't remember the names of all of the stretches, but I basically do a couple quad stretches. I do an inner thigh stretch. I stretch my hamstrings, and I do kind of one of these kick stretches. Again, I can't remember exactly what the names of them were, but I did a video just on how I prevented injury on the trail, and I talk into detail about the stretches that I do. It's called Tips for Injury Prevention on the Trail. I will go ahead and throw that in the links below, and also throw it at the end screen if you want to watch that. But basically what I do is I typically, before I actually start my day with the hike, I will stretch for probably somewhere between 5 to 7 minutes. Every stretch I do, I hold for 20 or 30 seconds. And I will do that in its entirety and not start most days. I mean, I say most because there's been a couple days where I will just forget because I am just itching to get out of camp. And I remember like 3 or 4 miles on the trail, and then I'll stop and stretch. But the idea, I do it beforehand, and then when I get done with my hike, I will do it at the end. Now, I will probably do the stretches at the end about 70% of the time, and that's just because I forget sometimes because I'm hungry or whatever. But almost every single time I do it before I actually step a foot on the trail, and then when I get done. It's something that I highly, highly recommend. This is one of the things that I did to be able to do my Appalachian Trail through hike in my very limited time frame without getting injured and being forced off the trail. So it worked for me. Next up, we have enjoyed your gear reviews as well as allowing us to travel with you through your videos. What stakes did you order for your Duplex from Z-Packs? We are ready to order a triplex, but are looking for some recommendations. When I first bought my Duplex, I bought all the stakes from Z-Packs, and I used their 6.5-inch titanium stakes. And they worked well for the most part for me on the Appalachian Trail. Now, I did have an issue on top of, I think it was like Walnut Mountain or something like that, right before Hot Springs, where my tent came destaked, and I even had a couple rocks on top of the stake. So what I did when I got done with the Appalachian Trail after doing some research and some trial and error with some of my most recent thru hikes is I upgraded my stakes from the Z-Pax titanium stakes up to the MSR carbon core stakes. They've worked out really, really well for me, and I have seen those work out well for a lot of other ultralight thru hikers. Now, one thing that I would strongly recommend, and what I do, is for both of these storm doors, where you pitch the storm doors, that stake is really important, because if any stake is going to come destaked, it's going to be that one right there. So what I do is I actually buy the Z-Pax V stakes, and I use the V stake to pitch the storm doors. They seem to stay in the ground a lot better than just the regular MSR carbon cores or the regular 6.5 inch stakes that Z-Pax has. Now, Z-Pax also has like a version of their carbon stakes, so you can check those out as well. Again, I'll put all of the details below in the description box, but highly, highly recommend that you get that V stake for both of your storm doors. Next question is more of a comment than a question, actually, and it made me laugh, so I wanted to share it. It's from the real Bigfoot, and he or she states, "Imposter!" exclamation point like 5 or 6 times. So don't know what to say, but if you have a question, leave it below and I'll do my best to answer it. Okay, I'm going to go there because we need to talk about the subject of keeping clean and packing out your own waste. Would you care to comment on waste management on the JMT? Didn't really realize that there was such a problem with people being disrespectful of our beautiful trails in the High Sierras, especially on Mount Whitney, since they removed the toilets. On the John Muir Trail, you have to pack out all of your toilet paper. Now, in a specific section of the John Muir Trail, the Whitney portal, you have to not just pack out your toilet paper, but you have to pack out all of your waste. When I was there, it actually was pretty clean, cleaner than I thought it was going to be. However, I still probably saw maybe 6 or 7 wag bags. Wag bag is basically this bag that you use to do your business in, and that's what you pack out your waste in. I probably saw 5 or 6 of them on my way up to Mount Whitney or at the top of Mount Whitney, which is stupid. It just, you know. But anyway, the Whitney zone, with how rocky it is and how traveled it is, there's just no place to bury your waste. So they require that, and they do provide wag bags for you. I saw wag bags when I hit the junction going to Whitney Portal, where they actually had a whole tote of them out on the trail. I was given one when I got my permit at Yosemite National Park, and I believe they also give them to you when you get a permit down at Whitney Portal or anywhere in that area. Now, I have heard from other hikers that during the summer when traffic is really high and there's lots of tourists, that there is quite a bit of waste that is lying around the trail. There are rangers that literally are out there picking up people's shit. It sucks that they actually have to do that. Respect, leave no trace. When you're out there on the trail, the John Muir Trail, any trail for that matter, make sure that you know and understand the LNT principles and you abide by them, because honestly, it really, really sucks for everyone else. On the Appalachian Trail, it was very common that you saw the white flour toilet paper on the trail all the time, blown in the air, and most of the time, you know, that stuff is probably going to blow in a water source, and then people get sick, and it's just disgusting. So know your leave no trace principles out there on the trail. I did a video on this one as well. I will throw that at the very end so you can check it out. Hey, have you ever used the Ursack or have any info on them? Would love to see you do a gear review on the Ursack. We love your videos and appreciate all you do for this community. We thank you for your sacrifices to help all of us keep up the great work. I have not done it. I have not done the Ursack. I don't own one yet. And the only reason why I don't is because I just haven't had the opportunity. If the Ursack was approved for the use out on the JMT, I definitely would have gone with it. I have heard that they're very close to getting it approved, but right now it is not an approved bear storage device out there in Yosemite National Park or on the John Muir Trail. But my plan next year would be at some point in time I would love to go out and buy one and then definitely test it out and give you my perspectives on it. What I've heard out on the trail, I've heard some folks say that they had an issue with the, not the bears actually getting in the earth sack, but when they did get it, they smashed all their food, so it was just like a big smashed mush. But, you know, you're probably going to hear more people talk about defective things than how well things are working. But what I have read out on the internet is most people are extremely happy with their earth sack for the weight compared to like a bear canister. It's just amazing what you're able to do, and you're able to have a bigger capacity. Definitely is a great idea, and it's something that I'll review here sometime in 2018. Which is better, cash or debit card on the AT? Do hostels take debit cards? Most hostels take cards, but there are some, I remember, that only did cash. And a lot of times if they only did cash, they had an ATM or something at their facility. But I would say both. You want to have both cash and debit or credit card out on the AT. Now, I would typically start with carrying about $100 with me on the AT, and when it dwindled down to under 20, I would try to get cash. And one thing I did too is I tried to keep with me maybe like 5, 6, 7 ones on me, especially going through the mid-Atlantic states when you will probably walk right by vending machines and things like that during intersections of streets or going to like the beaches that are on the trail. So I definitely recommend to carry some ones so you can actually buy something from the vending machines. And I know there are vending machines out there too that take cards, but definitely both, and definitely recommend carrying somewhere around $100. I probably wouldn't carry much more than that though. All right, next question. It's actually a two-part question. Hi Bigfoot, have you ever had a problem flying with a Swiss Army knife inside of your checked backpack? Also, how did you back up your photos taken on your iPhone? Is Facebook or Google Photos a good option for thru-Hikers to back up media? First question, I've never had an issue with my knife. I've only flown with all of my gear one time, and that was out to the JMT. I didn't have any issues with flying with my knife in my checked backpack. I also checked my trekking poles. I believe Nemor had his poles taken away from him on one of his recent thru hikes. I don't know if it was this last year, but I do remember watching that video or him talking about that. But everything that I checked, I never had an issue with. Now, in terms of backing my photos, what I have used is my Google Photos. I think that's a great option. I don't hear a lot of people using Facebook to back up their photos, but I have heard some people using Dropbox. Another thing you can do too is just buy a bigger storage of your iCloud and just have all of your photos and stuff back to your iCloud. Kind of just depends on how you want to manage it. But one of the things that I did when I went out and bought a personal phone before, when I did the AT, I just had my company phone and had like 32 gigabytes of memory, like nothing. But I got this year, and I got the biggest version, 256 gigabytes. So when I'm out there on a long distance thru hike, I'm not having to worry about trying to figure out how to, squeeze in some memory or delete certain apps or delete videos or do different things just so I had enough memory to be able to film things. So something that for me was worth the extra money, but my choice is Google Photos. All right, next question. I took my kids to see the highest point in Florida, Britton Hill, at 345 feet. It is not going to give you nosebleeds. In fact, it is the lowest state high point. I know this is a challenge that many people undertake to hit every state's high point. How many state high points have you made it to? Honestly, I haven't kept track. I think I've made it to maybe like 15 on the Appalachian Trail. I know you hit quite a few state high points. I know someone out there probably knows that, so go ahead and comment below on how many it is, but I can't remember offhand. Of course, I hit the California state high point. I've been on the state high point in Minnesota, which did the Spear Hiking Trail this last summer. And I've also hit the high point out in Missouri when I did the Ozark Trail. I would love to do that and have that as, challenge that would be kind of cool to be able to to do and have an opportunity to be able to see different parts of every single state. And the last question, Bigfoot. With the huge Q&A video lead that Darwin has on you already, what are your plans to catch up? I think everyone is unique to their channel, and I know a lot of people view how many subscribers as their form of success. And for me, I just love doing this. I love taking opportunities to be able to help you guys out, not just answering questions, but trying to give you practical information that's going to help you not just get on the trail, but stay on the trail, prevent injuries, and be smart. And I've made a lot of mistakes, and that's where a lot of these topics I talk about come from, was things I did, mistakes that I made, and want you guys to learn from them. So what am I going to do? Nothing. I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing, and until it gets to a point where I'm tired of doing this, or I need to scale back a little bit because it's impacting my personal life. Last week I mentioned that, I probably spend somewhere between 15 and 20 hours a week doing this channel. And, long term, is that something I'm going to continue spending 20 hours a week on? I don't know. I think if I keep on enjoying it, absolutely, definitely. And we'll just kind of see how things go. Well, that wraps up my weekly Q&A for this week. If I didn't answer your questions, I apologize. Make sure you leave those questions again in the comments below, or at my social media platforms, or at followbigfoot@yahoo.com. When I see repeat questions, I will more than likely try to answer it on next week's. Happy early Thanksgiving to all of you guys. I can't believe it's Thanksgiving already next week. Stay tuned for many more sightings, and remember to always follow Bigfoot.